when the majority either receive federal benefits of some kind or another and or pay no federal income taxes, and that majority is growing, isn't this a seed of what you might call collapse of the U.S. System if the majority can continue to vote in candidates who feed this need from the federal trough? Is that a danger we're entering in? Let's start with P.J. on that.
I would say the current president has been leaning on that political tone of us and them in a really unpleasant way. I'm paying more than my share of the expense of America, and I'm being called a them for it. You know, I would say that the words he's looking for are thank you.
Exactly. James.
Well, first of all, I appreciate my role here as the sort of as the fire plug at the dog show, and also let me say this.
Allow me to lift my leg.
Let me say this in as clear terms as I can make it. I think the finest tax devised by the mind of man is a federal progressive tax on income with a broad definition of income. None better. And thank God we have that, because if we didn't have progressive taxes, federal taxes on income, poor people would be clobbered even more today. Because the great canard is, you say, oh, look at the federal tax. When you take total taxes that everybody pays, we barely have a progressive tax system in this country. So I am not only do I think it's a marvel. I think the 16th Amendment to the Constitution might have been the greatest moment in the history of this country. And I think it's won wars. I think it's defeated elderly poverty. I think it's done 1,000 good things. So I am a proud supporter of the 16th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. I think it was this country's finest hour. Well, the fire plug just leaked.
Charles, you can
I
answer.
feel compelled
And
to...
take away the progressivity of federal taxes and go do a chart and see what happens to somebody making $40,000 a year trying to raise 2 kids. They're clobbered.
Well, I think I'd better lift a leg right now. What's wrong with an income tax in principle in the first place is that it taxes the wrong thing. We know that in a free economy, when you subsidize X, you get more of X. And when you tax X, you get less of it. So in a rational economic system, you want to tax what you want to discourage, and you want to subsidize what you want to encourage. The one thing you want to encourage, particularly in a country with 9% unemployment, if you want to talk about suffering, the suffering of unemployment isn't only economic, it's familial, psychological, in every which way. The last thing you want to tax is employment. The last thing you want to tax is income. The thing you'd like to tax, if you could have a system that would work the most efficiently, would be consumption. We overconsume. We save less than we should. If savings were larger, as they are in places like China and India, where the economies are growing at 10%, as opposed to 1 or 2% here, if you were to tax consumption and discourage it and encourage savings, which you discourage with the current tax system, discourage hiring and employment, which you discourage with an income tax, you would do it. So if anything, it holds the economy back, it decreases employment, it increases the misery precisely of the people you want to help. Secondly, there is the issue of civil liberties, which I know you and P.J. are deeply attached to. And we complain about the wiretap and the Patriot Act and all that, which have had a trivial effect on our lives and have impacted us practically in no way at all while protecting us. The biggest intrusion into the life of the ordinary American is the IRS, who wants to know exactly how much you tipped a waiter on your dinner on the 6th of January on that receipt and why wasn't recorded. There is not a single action in your life that you don't have to show evidence for in paper when you get an IRS audit. And why is that? It's because of the income tax. And if you have a system in which you can deduct expenses, you have to justify every one. That is the IRS is the most intrusive violator of civil liberties in the United States, and that is a direct result of the amendment that you worship.
Jim's looking through the Constitution for loopholes here. What'd you find?
No, I'm not looking. I'm not looking for a loophole. Let me just read the Constitution, because we all worship, and this is the certified Cato edition of the Constitution.
It is.
This is
That's the real deal.
Let me hold on. Excuse me, sir.
Okay.
May I read from the precious document? May I invoke you as a former United States Marine, where I attained the rank of corporal, which made me the highest ranking military official in the Clinton administration. But Corporal Carville will now read the 16th Amendment. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived, without appointment among the several states and without regard to any census or enumeration. It can't be any clearer. It's in here. It's in the document.
Now, James is...
Salvation, America, the finest tax devised by the mind of man, is a progressive tax on income with a broad definition of income.
As usual, James is right for all the wrong reasons. Yeah, it's allowable. And actually, I would say that Charles is wrong for all the right reasons. I do not want a consumption tax on this simple, basic principle. Never, ever let the government invent a new tax. You will get all the old taxes you ever had, plus this new one.
PJ, I would agree with you. If you are going to impose a consumption tax, it can only be done if you abolish income taxes. You can't have a 999, because a 999 will become a 20-20-20. As in Europe.
100.
So you don't want to start with a new tax that you add on to old taxes, because you're going to end up in Greece.
Well, guys, that had to be one of the most entertaining and dynamic events in the history of the New Orleans Investment Conference. Was it as fun for you all as it was for the audience?
It was. James is entirely out of
James loves
control.
it best because it's easiest to speak to people who oppose you.
It is. Yeah. You know, it's two things. I think what makes it funny is I think all three of us like each other. Yeah. So it's kind of fun. You know, you can and you know, it's not going to be offended if you do a little shout, a little back and forth. And when you don't like someone,
and that does happen.
Yeah, it does happen.
We've seen that before.
Yeah.
It was like I'm not sure if it was a circus or a bullfight with James sort of enraging us with red capes. And we were using fake swords, so it was all for fun. It was really great fun. Yeah. But I tried to explain to the audience, I tried to explain James to the audience when I told them that a liberal is somebody who doesn't care what you do as long as it's mandatory.
That was a good line.
And James, of course, is the one who vindicated that.
I think that
you got us on a couple of zingers, too.
Look, you know what? It was a lot of heat, but it was some lightning, it was some fun. And you go to these investment conferences and you look and somebody's got a chart of this metal or a chart of this interest rate. I mean, some of this stuff can be, even to a professional investor, you can get in a weed. So it's fun to
lighten it up a little bit.
Yeah. And you're not going to change one mind in there. So why not have fun?
Well, that's what we do. We enlighten and we entertain. Thank you all.